We're chatting here with NFL Network draft analyst Charles Davis. A little bit of a strange draft for us here in Denver, Charles, just with no first or second round picks, only 5 picks overall. So where do you feel like this draft is the most deep?
Oh, Phil, to me, let's start on the offensive side of the ball, because that's typically how we all operate, right? Even though I'm in Broncos country, I should start on the defensive side of the ball because that's where they played the best over the last few seasons. But let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Receiver, in normal years, we're talking about 6-7 receivers off the board in the first round. So my phrase for this year, because I don't see that happening, is that we're not going to get 7 in the first round, but we have 7 rounds worth of receivers. So again, it's deep, but it may not be as top heavy as it's been in the past. That's the first thing. Offensive tackles, a good group off the board early. I think first round guys, I think it's a group where if you got a guy, you better go get him now. It's not, hey, it's so deep, I'll come back and get one later.
Hand off, right side run, and out into the open along the sideline. That's Bijan Robinson, who stayed in bounds.
Running backs, a bunch of runners. We keep talking about devaluing the position. I only see one that I would probably grab in the first round, Bijan Robinson out of Texas. But there are a lot of good runners. So that's not an issue, I don't believe at all. Quarterbacks, well, they drive the draft. But I don't see a group of quarterbacks like we've had in the past where there's that guy right at the top that we're all, oh, God, I wish I had him, right? It's not a Trevor Lawrence draft. It's not an Andrew Luck draft. It's not a Peyton Manning draft to me. Do they have good players? Yes. Will there be 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the first round? Yes. But I don't know that that means that they reach that in terms of going into the draft. Their playing careers will dictate everything after that.
Bootleg out to the right. The catch made by Dalton Kincaid. First down and more into the red zone.
Tight ends, loaded.
Okay.
Absolutely loaded. Okay. If you don't get your guy early, you should be able to get a pretty decent one later. That's the way I look at the tight ends. On the flip side of it, edge rushers, good amount of them. Interior defensive lineman is getting tougher and tougher all the time because college football is played spread out. Mm-hmm. So the ball isn't there like it used to be. Linebackers, most of them are edge guys. The inside guys are getting to be like running backs. We don't put the same value on them, even if they're good players. And then in the secondary, there, of course, there's plenty of guys, because if you're going to pitch it around, at some point you got to have guys who can run with them and try and cover them.
Interesting that you said tight ends, because that's a position some people think the Broncos might need to attack. You got a guy who might be around in the third round that you're really high on?
We get into the third round. Look, at the top of the food chain, you're probably going to hear a name like Dalton Kincaid from Utah. You're going to hear the name Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. You're probably going to hear Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State, even though he hasn't played a whole lot due to some injuries, okay? Those are got to be kind of the names that roll out at you first. So as we go, I think of Sam Laporta from Iowa. I really like him, and I like what I saw from him. He kind of confirmed some things for me and actually opened my eyes a little bit at the Combine, because the Combine is one of those, if that's all you're scouting off of, you're probably going to get fooled a lot. All right, guys are going to do things, but you need to have a base of where you're coming from. I'd already watched him on tape, watched him play, and then I thought he was an easier mover than even what I saw on tape. I really like the way that he moves. He almost has a glide to him. A Davis Allen out of Clemson is another guy I've got written down. A Josh Wiley out of Cincinnati. Payne Durham from Purdue really elevated his stock, I thought, at the Senior Bowl. So I don't know if he even makes it to the third round, but if he does, big old mountain of a man will block you on the line of scrimmage and does a nice job catching the ball, a little more nifty on his feet than maybe people give him credit for. And I'll give you the small school guy who no longer fits a small school guy because we talk about him. That's Tucker Croft from South Dakota State.
Okay.
Who went to South Dakota State, just played in the Super Bowl? Dallas Goedert with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. Some of those Dakota schools are getting bigger and bigger as we go along.
Don't mess with. Hey, if you're gonna show up at a fight, You don't want to show up and see the Dakota schools aligned hip to hip. You're going to have to pack 2 lunches for that one.
Hey, a former third-round tight end, Jimmy Graham, a guy that Sean Payton drafted in New Orleans. Sean Payton has this track record of finding some hidden talent in the draft. How much of an asset do you think that he is for the Broncos now that he's joined on here in Denver?
Huge asset for so many different reasons, not just his acumen, which is obviously, the skins are on the wall there, a Super Bowl title, an opportunity to go back to the Super Bowl on multiple occasions, and different crazy things happened that kept them out. But also Sean Payton, he gives them street cred. Like around the league, Sean Payton's coaching someone, the credit, the automatically like, oh, okay, we're going to have to deal with them. They're going to be good. That is the expectation that goes along with it. And with all of his years of experience, how he wants to shape a team, what he wants to do, when he sits in those meetings with George Payton, the general manager, and the scouts and the people, this is his vision of what he wants the Broncos to look like. So they will have a clear understanding of who they're scouting, what they're scouting, and what they're trying to bring into to Denver in order for Sean Payton to put together his football team and be successful.
2nd down and goal. Clifford with a run all the way. Clifford, touchdown, Penn State.
Charles, it was reported that Sean Payton had a Zoom meeting with Penn State quarterback Sean Clifford, which kind of, quarterbacks, like you said, run this draft. Anytime you hear quarterback, your ears perk up a little bit. Are there some guys, a day 2, day 3 quarterback that you think might have some high upside here down the line?
Well, the first name you're going to hear, because it's almost become standard that if we're talking quarterbacks down the line, the next question is always, who's going to be this year's Brock Purdy?
Uh-huh.
Right? You know that, right? That's kind of become the standard deal. Look, the Brock Purdy thing is 46, 48 starts in college, big success, came into a system that gave him a chance to learn as he went. Also a system that's really quarterback friendly, although we overutilize that term. So who can be this year? Jake Haener coming out of Fresno State. That's the one that everyone's kind of locked in on. So I'm at the Senior Bowl. He got the MVP in that one. He had a good week, throws the ball well. His head coach, Jeff Tedford at Fresno State, who coached Aaron Rodgers at Cal, he's going to vouch for him in a big way. Okay. Jalen Moreno Copper was a good wide receiver for him there, so don't forget him and a late round guy. All of that comes into play. He would be one that people would talk about. I'm going to give you a really off the charts one. He's at a Shepherd College out of West Virginia, and that's Tyson Bagent. Okay, he threw about 825,000 passes when he was in school at Shepherd. All right, he was talking about being a grad transfer and going to a Maryland or somewhere else. And then the way the credits went, his graduation would have been delayed by like a year and a half. That's not worth it. Stayed at Shepherd, kept throwing the football around. Lots of throws, lots of completions, was at the Senior Bowl, got better every day, as kind of the aura got chipped away. I've talked with multiple personnel people that would be willing, in the right situation, if we had it, 6th round, 7th round, taking him as a project. Keeping an eye on him, because if you're saying that Sean Payton is talking to Sean Clifford, Tyson Bagent would fit that category. Late round guy, had a lot of success, knows how to throw the football. Sean Clifford had success at Penn State, playing in a big stage. Remember, Trace McSorley came out of there.
Yep.
And we're talking about Trace McSorley maybe moving to safety. He's still a quarterback in the NFL. There's something to these kids that have that extra toughness to them. And I do think a lot of people look at Max Duggan that way from TCU. I'm not sold on him as a thrower, but I'm sold on him with all the intangibles that go with it. Okay. It's a tough kid, 4 years of starting experience in the Big 12, ended up being a Heisman finalist, to help his team to a national championship game appearance after starting the year on the bench.
Wow, toughness. Yeah.
Hang his head, got his opportunity, took it, and ran with it. So a guy like that is someone that you go, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from you here, Charles, is that even though the Broncos only have 5 picks, none in the first or second round, there's still some talent that they could dip into and make this team better for next year.
Look, it's real simple. Go to your all-pro team every year. Go to your Pro Bowl team, however you want to look at the Pro Bowl. I'm not talking about, when they're playing, dodgeball or tag or whatever it is they're doing these days. I'm just talking about who got named to the Pro Bowl. And look at how many later round picks, which we call day 3 guys nowadays, the way the draft is constructed, how many undrafted free agents, talent all over the place. It's up to us to find it and develop it. And when I say us, I'm talking about the 32 teams in the NFL. They have to find it and then they have to coach it and develop it. And, sometimes a guy fits one team scheme really well because he does that one thing that they want, that he might not fit another team. Then you got to find the right fit for them, the right place.
Well, that's kind of what makes it fun here this next month. Sure to be crazy. I appreciate you going deep into your notes, Charles. I know this was not normally you're probably getting asked first round guys, quarterbacks, that kind of stuff. But I appreciate you. Hey, you dug deep. I appreciate it.
That's okay. Something, when I think about this down the road as I'm ready for the draft and we get into it and some name pops up and hopefully I will know that name and have done my work on them. I'm going to think of you and I because you pushed me right out of the gate. Don't forget, man, this draft goes 7 rounds. It's not just a 1-round draft, and I'll be sitting there doing all 7, so I better be ready to go. I got to go get some more work done now, man. You're scaring me.
Hey, well, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. You got pro days. You got all this stuff going on, so I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm no busier than you are.